a complete record of commodity rotation cycles. From gold igniting the precious metals rally to the ultimate commodity gamble triggering geopolitical conflicts, causing crude oil to explode. Experience firsthand how monetary policy plays commodity price cycle patterns, alongside the ensuing capital gains and industrial booms and busts. Gain deeper insight into the intrinsic link between personal success, failure, and economic cycles. In global rate-cutting cycles, commodities are the absolute protagonists. Each rate-cutting cycle, combined with prevailing national policies and global conditions, gives birth to unexpectedly stellar commodities. Soybeans, silver, iron ore each left an unmatched legacy in their respective eras. The most recent example, the pandemic-era global liquidity flood, sparked a new energy vehicle boom, igniting a lithium mining scramble. The fierce lithium battle saw lithium carbonate surge dozens of times over, ignited speculation across the entire periodic table. The subsequent 3-year rate hiking cycle brought everything back to calm. In the latter half of 2024, the Federal Reserve fired the starting gun, prompting global central banks to follow suit. A new rate-cutting cycle began. Amid global trade barriers and regional instability, gold, an ancient metal, emerged as this cycle's star product. Hello, welcome to Document Review Notes, guiding you into the world of commodities. Governments hoard gold, dynasties manipulate silver. Under monetary policies, various forces stir the winds of change using the periodic table. Welcome to Document Review Notes, which insists on systematic understanding of fast food content. Each rate-cutting cycle sees one star commodity surge ahead, leading its peers to absorb liquidity, thus influencing the rise and fall of entire downstream industries. As absolute strategic materials, commodities serve as the ultimate collateral for fiat currency. They are not ordinary goods, but rather absolute necessities vital to global livelihoods and strategic security. Their scarcity and indispensability are them the ultimate pledge, surpassing sovereign commitments. The essence of currency is credit, and the ultimate endorsement of credit can only ever be those indispensable strategic materials. Without the backing of commodities, any currency risks overnight devaluation. History repeatedly demonstrates whoever controls the flow of core commodities holds the true authority over the global credit system. We all know that interest rate cuts and hikes are the most fundamental macroeconomic tools. But through what channels do such tools exert their influence? If commodities are likened to an ox, then monetary policy is the rope tightly fastened to its nose. The one holding the reins is the state apparatus wielding absolute force. They control this ox through rate hikes and cuts to influence the sowing and harvesting across all industries, and even steer the flow and distribution of global wealth. Each rate-cutting cycle sees a star commodity emerge as the leader, surpassing all others, guiding its followers to absorb the flood of liquidity, and thereby impacting the entire downstream supply chain. Unlike goods like real estate or automobiles, which are subject to regional regulations and whose prices remain within local macroeconomic controls, commodities, as fundamental elements, face global markets and operate largely according to economic principles. This predictability is precisely why countless domestic and international players favor them. When central banks hit the rate cut button, a flood of cheap capital surges into the market. Hard currencies like metals and minerals instantly become sought-after safe haven assets. Upstream mines and smelters see profits skyrocket, raking in gold by the bucketful, which ripples through the downstream sector. All industrial chains requiring basic raw materials. Under the ultimate law of survival, one must either control the resource source or possess the ability to shift pricing power. There is no middle ground here. Those who align thrive, those who resist perish. From lithium mining giants that rode cycles to success to pork industry leaders that expanded against the trend, only to end up changing allegiances. These stories profoundly illustrate the intrinsic connection between individual success or failure and economic cycles. Closest to us is the last rate cut cycle, when the spectacular lithium mining bull market propelled major commodities to soar. 3 years later, in September 2024, the Fed's signal heralded another global rate cut cycle. Gold emerged as the target of central banks worldwide, rising above all other assets. Gold prices skyrocketed, repeatedly shattering historical records. Spot gold surged from $2,624.43 per ounce at the end of 2024 to over $3,640 per ounce, accumulating a gain of over $1,000 per ounce. Amid this fervor, other elements in periodic table commodities experienced successive rallies, fully demonstrating commodities' role in absorbing massive liquidity injections. April 2025, the chemical industry chain, as the raw material processing segment, was first targeted by capital market speculation. May pharmaceutical industry chain, deeply integrated with chemicals, began its price surge. July, amidst the tariff disputes between major powers, rare earth metals, caught in the crossfire, ignited instantly. Mid-August lithium carbonate market witnessed a brutal short squeeze. September, with the Fed rate cut expectations looming, gold prices climbed another notch. As long as the global economic system keeps turning, the commodity narrative persists. Ultimate players set the rules, institutions lead, retail investors follow. With the wind at your back, success comes easily. Against it, survival is a struggle. As the oldest and most stable economic logic, commodity price movement shape become a capital market's most predictable language. Yet with rotation cycles spanning years, it inevitably clashes with markets where values rise and fall overnight. The capital market is a place that severely tests human nature. Greed and short-sightedness, one misstep, and you become someone else's nourishment. What is foresight? Foresight is failing to see the true face of Mount less simply because you are within the mountain. Go with the flow of the cycle, and a decade's career will seem like a mere blink. What is a wandering mind? A wandering mind is what you think is a fleeting taste is actually the slow poison that kills you in the end. Ignoring certainty, obsessed with madness. Occasionally glancing back at the dense K-lines, you'll find that amidst countless tangents, the landscape has already changed beyond recognition. What you lose is not just wealth, but also the prime of your youth. The first battle, the lithium mine war, legendary journey of Tianqi lithium. June 30, 2024, Beijing time. China's two lithium giants face overseas siege. Hundreds of billions in state assets devour trending topic. Tianqi lithium, one of the protagonists once again at the center of public scrutiny. Today we delve deep into how Tianqi lithium treated the stock market as an ATM. Step by step through snake-swallowing elephant acquisitions, emerging victorious in the global lithium battle and successfully resolving its debt. In 2004, an aluminum supplier named Zhengbang gathered the state-owned enterprise Xiaohong Aluminum Industry for a staggering 50 million yuan. The company had suffered years of severe losses, was insolvent, and carried total debts exceeding 100 million yuan. It was renamed Sichuan Tianqi Aluminum Industry Co., Ltd., marking the beginning of its legendary 20-year journey. As a vital mineral resource, holds an exceptionally vital position in modern societal development. Dubbed white oil, it constitutes an indispensable element in the global energy competition. Due to historical circumstances, China's industrialization commenced relatively late. Initial industrial development lagged behind the West by nearly a century. The primary profits within the traditional industrial chain, dominated by petroleum, had long been monopolized by Europe and America. We could only participate in low-end manufacturing segments or import raw materials at high costs. The relatively scarce petroleum resource further exacerbated this imbalance. Faced with this predicament, the search for a new breakthrough path had been brewing in China for some time. In 1983, the State Science and Technology Commission proposed a 16-character guideline for new energy development. Guided by this policy direction, In 1995, Wang Junfu resigned from the Beijing Non-Ferrous Metals Research Institute venture into entrepreneurship. In 1999, Zhang Yuqin established a new energy technology Co. Ltd. In Hong Kong. At this moment, the gears of destiny quietly shifted. In 2001, academician Chen Liquan of the Chinese Academy of Engineering approached Wang Gang, then head of the 863 Program Electric Vehicle Major Project, pleading for an opportunity for lithium-ion batteries. With the support of ministerial-level official Wang Gang, lithium battery development accelerated rapidly. The entire new energy industry chain began its journey from 0 to 1, filled with diverse opportunities. As an upstream raw material supplier, Zhang Weiping was among the pioneers daring to seize the era's opportunities. Early global lithium resources were monopolized by three giants: Alcoa of the United States, Chile's Codelco, and Australia's Talison. Alcoa leveraged its technological and resource advantages to dominate lithium mining and processing. Codelco wielded significant influence, controlling premium Salt Lake resources. Additionally, Australia's Talison lithium passed the world's highest grade, largest reserve spodumene deposits and played a pivotal role in early lithium supply. Through control of premium ore sources, advanced technology, and mature industrial chains, these companies established a degree of monopolistic advantage in the lithium resource sector. China's lithium industry, much like its steel sector, long relied on Australia for raw materials. During this period, Tianqi Lithium sourced nearly all its raw materials, specifically spodumene, from Australia's Talison Lithium. The lessons from Europe's energy crisis reveal that when reliance on a single raw material exceeds 50%, control shifts from domestic hands to become subject to external dictates. With continuous technological breakthroughs and China's rapid development of new energy industries, it swiftly emerged as one of the world's largest lithium consumers. The lithium crisis became the most pressing challenge, elevating the acquisition of affordable, stable lithium resources to a national strategic priority. With strong policy backing, domestic lithium mining companies embarked on overseas exploration missions. Such aggressive acquisition strategies meant massive capital, the fastest source of funds, the capital markets. Thus, in 2010, China's capital markets witnessed a wave of aluminum mining IPOs. That year, Tianqi Lithium and Ganfeng Lithium both listed on the Shenzhen Stock Exchange, successfully going public. Trillions of shareholders syndicate joined the global race for lithium resources. After going public, Tianqi Lithium's cash flow rapidly replenished. Within 4 years, it acquired a 20% stake in Aerospace Power, becoming its second largest shareholder and entering the power lithium battery market. The first round of capital market financing gradually lifted Tianqi Lithium from its debt quagmire. By 2012, Tianqi Lithium's revenue reached nearly 400 million yuan, with profits exceeding 40 million yuan. With total assets exceeding 1.5 billion yuan, having taken over Shahong Lithium with 50 million yuan in debt in 2004. After 8 years of relentless struggle, the company finally achieved a remarkable turnaround and secured a foothold in the lithium mining industry. But the good times were short-lived. In August 2012, US-based Rockwood Holdings fired the first shot in the aluminum mining battle, offering 724 million Canadian dollars equivalent to 4.55 billion RMB to acquire 100% equity in Australian aluminum giant Talison Lithium. Should Talison fall into Rockwood's hands, the world's major lithium resources would be completely monopolized by US-led mining capital giants. Such a monopoly would inevitably trigger a coordinated squeeze in Chinese enterprises. Whether Lithium, already relied on importing high-cost minerals to eke out meager profits, would be dealt a fatal blow by losing Talison's lithium supply. At this juncture, Zhang Weiping had only one option: to burn his boats and fight with his back to the river. battling Rockwood for control of Talison. But whether Lithium, with total assets of just $1.5 billion, faced a well-funded Rockwood that offered a staggering $4.5 billion in the first round. Rockwood, with total assets of $40 billion, was a formidable foe. Victory seemed impossible. Any other person wouldn't even dare to contemplate it. But who was Zhang Weiping? A maverick who rose to the top of the aluminum mining industry through relentless maneuvering since 1997. How could he give up easily? After meticulous planning, a brilliant yet shameless scheme unfolded. Uncle Wen summed it up as a two-pronged deception strategy, a unique, incremental takeover. Now witness Zhang Weiping's classic maneuver. Season 1. Hiding under the heavens. Tianqi Lithium's parent company secretly established a subsidiary in Australia, using Wenfield as a front. This Western-sounding name initially fooled all competitors. Then, through secondary market purchases, they quietly acquired shares. Since the Australian exchange requires disclosure and 15% off exchange requires disclosure and approval, Wenfield secretly acquired 99% and 10% of Talison shares into separate transactions using its own funds totaling $334 million, summing up to 20%, silently becoming Talison's second largest shareholder. Rockwood entered the board with deep pockets to launch a hostile takeover, but Wenfield suddenly leveraged his position as second largest shareholder to exercise a veto right, while demanding a higher sale price from Rockwood. This series of strategic maneuvers bought invaluable time for subsequent plans. Season 2. Painting a rosy picture. Zhang Weiping used progress made by subsidiaries to aggressively pitch a rosy future in China's domestic financing market, preemptively outlining a promising blueprint for the post-acquisition of Talison. Then, in the share market, he conducted a rights offering. Tianqi Lithium planned to issue up to 170 million shares to no more than 10 specific investors to raise up to 4 billion yuan for acquiring Tianqi Group's wholly owned subsidiary, Tianqi Group Hong Kong's 65% stake in Wenfield, and Tianqi Group's direct 100% ownership of Tianqi Mining. This would achieve indirect control over Tianqi Group, thereby achieving indirect control over Talison. After securing 4 billion yuan in the domestic capital market, the funding issue was smoothly resolved, and the entire situation was instantly revitalized. However, facing the giant Lockwood, the disparity remained that of an elephant versus an ant. Season 3. Openly repairing the trail, secretly crossing the pass. Li Yi of Tianqi remained outwardly silent, while privately mounting relentless pressure on Rockwood through Wenfield. Rockwood remained utterly unaware of its true adversary, still strategizing to minimize costs. Suddenly, Wenfield emerged, offering a premium over Rockwood's bid to acquire the remaining 80% stake in Talison. While Rockwood wavered, Wenfield leveraged its position as a major shareholder to orchestrate a coordinated effort, swiftly securing 100% controlling stake in Talison. In the subsequent battle for U.S. aluminum mines, before American parties could identify their adversary, Tianqi Lithium emerged victorious. The entire process employed a classic equity structure that progressively diluted acquisition costs while concealing the true opponent. First, Tianqi Lithium established a Hong Kong subsidiary, Tianqi Group Hong Kong. Using minimal capital, it acquired over 50% equity in Tianqi Group Hong Kong. Exercising equity control over Tianqi Group Hong Kong, this first round diluted costs. Then, leveraging the Hong Kong entity, a sub-subsidiary was established in Australia when filed further diluted control costs. While better concealing identified sole risk at this stage was a joint defection by subsidiary and sub-subsidiary shareholders. Yet Rockwood remained utterly unaware of its adversary, showing no signs of attempting to sway the joint acquirers. Backed by domestic policy support, China Investment Corporation joined as a co-acquirer. This state-owned entity with impeccable credentials posed zero defection risk. The acquisition strategy was masterfully executed, every move orchestrated within Zhang Weiping's strategic framework. Per contractual terms, Swinfield acquired 100% of Talison Lithium for 5.33 billion RMB in a single transaction. Zhang Weiping, with his exceptional vision, courage, and strategy, bit big with a small stake and swallowed the Australian lithium giant. This holds profound significance on multiple fronts. Talison owns the world's largest and highest-grade solid spodumene deposit, the Greenbushes lithium mine. Whether lithium Industries achieved 100% self-sufficiency in lithium concentrate, providing a solid resource foundation for the company's long-term stable production and operations. This move secured lithium raw material supply, freeing the company from external constraints. Most crucially, it broke new ground for China's overseas mineral exploration efforts, carrying not only economic value but also strategic significance. Following the Talison acquisition, amidst triumphant celebrations came heavy costs. The $5.3 billion acquisition price saw Zhang Weiping stake nearly everything on this battle. Fortunately, buoyed by the major positive news of the successful acquisition, Tianqi Lithium's stock price soared. Millions of shareholders traded shares among themselves, shared the burden of Tianqi's massive debt. 2014 Tianqi Lithium's strength's emergential revenue surged to 1.4 billion yuan, profits reached 290 million yuan. Tianqi Lithium's triumph in this battle sparked intense envy among domestic lithium mining firms, who rushed to mine and sell. The bloodthirsty Tianqi Lithium leveraged the boundless capital of retail investors on the share market to launch an unstoppable buying spree. 2014 acquisition of 20% stake in Tibet Shagat's Zabai. Through this acquisition, Tianqi Lithium indirectly secured a foothold in Tibet's Zabai Salt Lake. 2015 acquisition of Galaxy Aluminum at its production base in Zhangjigang, Jiangsu. Advancing relentless lithium continuously expanded its footprint. Its stock price soared over tenfold. Investors who followed suit reaped enormous profits. Fast forward to 2018, 5 years after swallowing Talison, Zhang Weiping embarked on his third high-stakes gamble. This time set his sights on another global lithium giant, SQM Sociedad Química y Minera. At the time, SQM was beset by internal turmoil. Major shareholder Peng Zai was embroiled in a market manipulation scandal, fined nearly $70 million. The second largest shareholder, Potash Corporation of Canada, was also forced to divest its stake due to antitrust regulations. Faced with this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, the Chinese and American giants clashed once more. This time, Tianqi Lithium's rival was another global lithium mining giant, Alcoa Corporation of the United States. Simply put, the question was whether Chile's SQM would sell its lithium mining rights to China or to the United States. Compared to Tianqi Lithium, which had become a giant in the previous round, this time adopted a straightforward approach, directly offering a staggering $4.066 billion, equivalent to RMB 25.893 billion, to acquire a 23.77% stake in SQM. Faced with such a high bid and considering long-term trade ties with China, Tianqi Lithium successfully secured the stake, becoming SQM's second-largest shareholder. Thus, two of the world's three major lithium mining giants were acquired by Tianqi Lithium, while expanding its global business footprint. It further solidified and elevated its standing in the international market. Tianqi Lithium has become a true global lithium mining giant. After 14 years of battles and 3 high-stakes gambles, Zhang Weiping has cemented his position as the industry leader. However, last time, in a do-or-die move, he acquired Talison for 5.3 billion yuan, only for the burden to be perfectly shared by domestic shareholders. This time, the staggering 25.9 billion yuan price tag. The domestic capital market could no longer absorb such massive debt. Of the $4.066 billion used to acquire STM shares, $3.5 billion came from cross-border loans. This caused Tianqi Lithium's debt-to-asset ratio to surge from 40.39% in 2017 to 73.26% in 2018. By the 2020 annual report, the debt ratio reached 80.32%, posing significant repayment pressure and financial risks. Adding insult to injury, lithium ore prices entered a downward cycle. Tianqi Lithium faced dual explosions in performance and debt, with its stock price plummeting from a high of 45 yuan. The cost of its aggressive gamble became increasingly apparent. After 2018, Tianqi Lithium sank deep into a debt quagmire, facing bankruptcy at one point. Later, it resorted to drastic measures to survive, leveraging the new energy cycle to rise again, entering the next chapter of its story. In 2020, lithium prices plummeted to 40,000 yuan. Tianqi Lithium struggled on the brink of bankruptcy. Zhang Weiping sought help from CATL at its peak. Facing years of falling lithium prices, even CATL at that time did not touch this hot potato. December 2020, Tianqi Lithium was forced to make drastic sacrifices, selling a 24.99% stake into Lisonto strategic investor, Lego Australia, through a capital increase and share expansion, securing approximately $1.395 billion to repay debts and alleviate financial pressure. While this maneuver averted immediate collapse, it merely prolonged the inevitable demise. 2021, the first breeze of the east wind. New energy vehicles merging from the three-year COVID-19 storm. The world entered an era of unprecedented transformation. China began aggressively pushing its new energy vehicle sector. With strong national policy support, new players like BYD and Li Auto entered the fray, taking on Tesla head-on. Established automakers like Great Wall and Changan soon joined the race, igniting a fierce battle among hundreds of new energy vehicle manufacturers. Trillions of hot money poured into the sector. Driven by the frenzy of vehicle production, demand for automotive batteries skyrocketed. Lithium ore became a true strategic resource. Voraciously pursued by automakers and battery manufacturers, lithium ore prices soared accordingly. The second wave, commodity price inflation. Amid 3 years of pandemic impact, to prevent economic collapse, the world entered an interest rate cut cycle. Central banks globally unleashed massive liquidity, triggering an unprecedented commodity price surge. Gold, silver, copper, iron, coal, minerals, and grains skyrocketed in price. Lithium ore prices doubled and doubled again. The third wave, international capital. The frenzied commodity price surge attracted hordes of international speculators who poured massive capital into the market, consciously driving up commodity prices. Some international capital sought to inflate lithium ore prices, to increase costs for new energy vehicle manufacturers, and curb China's new energy vehicle development. Propelled by these three converging forces, lithium carbonate prices spiraled completely out of control. From a low of 40,000 yuan per ton to a peak of 600,000 yuan per ton, a staggering 15-fold increase. Tianqi Lithium, leveraging vast lithium reserves, made a remarkable comeback. Within a single year, its performance surged exponentially, with stock prices soaring over 14-fold to reach a market capitalization exceeding 100 billion yuan, making it the star company of 2021. At its peak in 2022, Zhang Weiping ranked 54th with a fortune of $6.1 billion. In the 2020 to Hurun Rich List, Zhang Weiping ranked 73rd nationally with a fortune of 58 billion yuan. Enjoying a moment of glory, the mighty Yangtze flows eastward, washing away heroes in its waves. Success and failure turn to emptiness in a flash, while the Green Mountains remain forever. How many sunsets have they seen? As the saying goes, booms and busts are cyclical. Amidst the trend of explosive profits, the lithium mining industry experienced explosive growth. leading to severe oversupply. Lithium carbonate prices plummeted once more, declining steadily from 2022 to 2024 halved, then halved again from 600,000 yuan per ton to around 80,000 yuan today. Tianqi Lithium's performance shrank dramatically. Amid domestic and international turmoil, the battle for lithium mining control intensified, plunging Tianqi Lithium into another existential crisis. The wheels of history keep turning, each era producing its own titans. Amidst great power rivalry, the battle for lithium resources rages on. We anticipate Tianqi Lithium creating new legends in the future. This comprehensive series revisits Tianqi Lithium's legendary growth journey, covering classic business wars, commodity cycles, capital market dynamics, new energy policy evolution, the founding of first-generation entrepreneurs, and Sino-US strategic competition highly valuable for reference. In truth, the process of new things replacing old follows similar cycles of rise and fall across industries. From capital operations in real estate, steel, photovoltaics, to semiconductors, one can see echoes of Tianqi Lithium's growth. May history serve as a mirror to seize more future opportunities. The second battle, the rise and fall of Zhengbang technology. What happens when a listed company faces collapse? What should be done when super giants can't collect debts? In corporate restructuring, who profits and who loses? Today, we take you on an in-depth journey through 2023, recreating Zhengbang Technology's classic debt-to-equity swap process. Part 1. The Moment of Glory. Jiangxi Zhengbang Technology Co., Ltd. was Jiangxi's first privately owned IPO company specializing in feed production and sales, pig breeding, and pig farming, a national key leading enterprise in agricultural industrialization. In 2020, the dual black swan events of the COVID-19 pandemic and African swine fever sent the value of second brother pigs soaring. Pork prices were pushed to historic highs. Many consumers complained pork was too expensive, claiming they couldn't afford it, feeling pork had become a luxury item. Riding the wave of skyrocketing pork price, major pig farming enterprise welcomed a springtime boom. At its peak, Zhengbang Technology's market value reached 100 billion yuan. In market standing, it rose to prominence with formidable strength. Its hog output ranked second among share-listed companies. Feed sales placed within the top 5, and veterinary drugs ranked among the national top 10, establishing itself as one of the industry leaders and truly reaching its zenith. Remember that Zhengbang recruitment news from back then? Fresh graduates from key universities start at 120,000 yuan annual salary with 1 year of grassroots training. That was the best portrayal of Zhengbang in its heyday. Looking back now, it evokes a sigh of regret. Part 2. Expansion against the tide turned to sore, allured by sky-high pork prices. Capital and farmers flooded into the pig farming market. By the time the pigs reached market weight, the market was suddenly flooded with supply, compounded by factors like pandemic-induced declines in consumer spending and the influx of cheap imported pork. The industry faced multiple shocks. From 2021 to 2023, in just over 2 years, pork prices plummeted relentlessly, even falling below production costs. At one point, pork became a bargain overnight. Perhaps the fleeting wealth caused Zhengbang Technology to lose its rationality during this period. It pursued frenzied expansion when pork prices were high. The sky-high pork prices were inherently the result of multiple black swan events converging. Once everything returned to normal, Zhengbang Technology's misguided decisions propelled the company from massive profits to crippling debt. In 2020, Zhengbang reported revenue of 49.7 billion yuan and net profit of 5.7 billion yuan. In just over a year, by 2023, its revenue plummeted to 14.4 billion yuan, with a net loss of 14.3 billion yuan. As the classic line from the flowers in full bloom states, running from the bottom to the top of the Empire State Building takes 1 hour, but jumping from the roof takes only 8.8 seconds. Zhengbang technologies to decades of accumulation were wiped out overnight. Consequently, Zhengbang's stock price plummeted by half, then halved again, falling from 25 yuan per share to under 2 yuan. The company was placed under delisting warnings by the exchange, facing dual risks of financial and par value delisting. Part 3. Debt Restructuring, Act 1. Debt to Equity Swap. 2023. Zhengbang deep in debt, stocks and bonds plunge. Convertible bonds dropped to 62 yuan each. Shares fell to 1.85 yuan per share. Both face delisting risks. If delisted, hundreds of thousands of shareholders would lose their entire investments. Of course, this wouldn't significantly impact Zhengbang's top management. After in-depth discussions among major creditors led by banks, it became clear that relying solely on Zhengbang technology to repay all debts was entirely impossible. What would maximize benefits for all parties? There was only one path: preserving the listed company's status to achieve a win-win-win scenario for creditors, the company, and shareholders. While termed a win-win, it essentially minimizes losses. Given the current predicament, two scenarios are possible. First, inaction allowing market forces to determine stock prices. This would result in both convertible bonds and shares being delisted. Zhengbang undergoing bankruptcy liquidation, repayment of over 800 million yuan in convertible bonds, and retail investors suffering total losses. Second, spending capital to prop up convertible bond and stock price to prevent delisting. Thus emerged the first phase of debt restructuring, debt to equity swap via shareholder support. First, revive the company. What is a debt to equity swap via shareholder support? It involves buying low at the bottom while boosting profits through Zhengbang convertible bonds. Restore them to the normal level of 110 bonds, eliminate the risk of delisting due to rights issues. Then drive up Zhengbang's estimated value. Finally, push up the common stock price. This creates a premium for the debt to equity swap, allowing convertible bond holders to discover arbitrage opportunities and voluntarily convert their bonds. Through this operation, after 2 months of operations, Zhengbang resolved 800 million yuan in convertible bond debt. Even if it faces bankruptcy liquidation now, the primary creditor is eliminated, replaced by secondary market shareholders. This debt to equity swap represented Zhengbang's optimal and wisest choice, simultaneously guiding the stock price into its first rally. Part 4. Debt Restructuring Season 2. Share Issuance Restructuring. Storytelling to resolve corporate debt crisis. After completing the debt to equity swap, Zhengbang still faced bankruptcy liquidation risks. As the pig cycle declined, Zhengbang's fundamentals remained fundamentally unchanged. It was merely a financial game. Given Zhengbang's substantial pig farms and land assets, it couldn't simply abandon ship and let the company collapse. Zhengbang attempted to restructure its listed entity, paving the way for self-rescue through debt restructuring. The second phase of restructuring involved attracting investors. How could new strategic investors be brought in? As the saying goes, there's no such thing as a free lunch. No one would engage in a venture without profit. To attract new buyers, substantial concessions must be offered. On May 18, 2023, the company disclosed progress on restructuring efforts, announcing the introduction of 11 powerful strategic investors, including Tianqi Twin Agriculture Co. Ltd. and Shenzhen Yunta Asset Management Service Co. Ltd. Each had distinct motives. Twin Agriculture seized the opportunity to merge with Zhengbang, becoming Jiangxi's largest entity. The others followed suit. Most were banks that were already creditors and opportunistic capital. They acquired substantial newly issued shares at an extremely low price, just 1 yuan per share, a full 2.5 times higher than the market price of 0.5 yuan per share. By relinquishing control while issuing new shares in collaboration with various capital sources, Zhengbang Technology essentially pulled off a no-money down deal. This exposes the class divide between primary and secondary markets. Amidst a wave of restructuring news, financial consolidation began. Through flawless financial engineering, they cultivated shareholder confidence, signed the company's resurgence within the pig farming sector, driving a second wave of stock price growth that stabilized long-term around 3 yuan. Part 5. Resurrection Outwitting the Angel. After Zhengbang escaped delisting risks, let me summarize the company's rise and fall. Zhengbang's success stemmed from decades of diligent effort. In 2020, the combined impact of the pandemic and African swine fever propelled Zhengbang to its zenith. Zhengbang's downfall stemmed from leadership missteps, reckless expansion. Against market trends undermined its foundations. 20 years of effort crumbled overnight, reducing the company to a mere plaything in the capital markets. It was ultimately devoured by a rival twin company that timed the market perfectly. Capital maneuvering strategist Step 1. Stabilize control to revive the company. Acquire substantial equity at rock bottom prices. Step 2. Restructure and spin narratives. While awaiting industry recovery, new blood replaces old guard. Zhengbang Technology's rise and fall to some extent mirrors the entire swine farming industry's trajectory. This pattern extends beyond Zhengbang alone. The seismic shifts in the hog market from 2020 to 2024 pushed countless pig farms to bankruptcy under crushing pressure. Through survival of the fittest, market nearly monopolized by capital-rich industry giants. The cyclical nature of crude oil prices no longer functions normally. In short, regardless of industry shifts, only the victors in this bloody battle survive. 4 years of the pig cycle trough, compounded by 3 years of a bear market wave, pushed the entire industry to the brink of collapse. What perishes by the cycle can only triumph by the cycle. This is the confidence of institutions participating in industry self-rescue. They disregard short-term gains or losses. Any capital maneuver that defies industry cycles is a second-rate tactic. Aligning with the trend is the most straightforward strategy for new players replacing old ones. This process is also one of the fundamental operating logics of capital markets. The third battle, the rare earth struggle. Gang Group's past and present Wover controls the resources, holds the power. How to amass sufficient achievements? You need to possess ample rare earth reserves. Recently, China discovered an ultra-large ion adsorption type rare earth deposit in the Hong region of Yunnan province. It is poised to become China's largest medium-heavy rare earth deposit, forming a north-south strategic alignment with Baotu's Bay and Obo deposit in Inner Mongolia. Today, we comprehensively analyze the great power rivalry and Baotu Steel Group's legendary journey. In the rare earth contest, rare earths refer to 17 metallic chemical elements, including helium, playing pivotal roles across numerous sectors. They are dubbed the industrial vitamins and mother of new materials. Classification-wise, rare earths encompass light rare earths and medium-heavy rare earths. Light rare earths like neodymium and samarium are commonly used in traditional sectors, such as metallurgy and ceramics. Heavier rare earths contain more valuable elements that are indispensable in manufacturing permanent magnets and luminescent materials. They serve as critical raw materials for high-end electronics, new energy vehicle motors, and other advanced products. Ion-adsorbed rare earths predominantly exist in weathered crusts like granite, adsorbed as ions onto clay minerals. They are extracted through chemical methods such as ion exchange. Southern China is the primary production area. In the chip and semiconductor sector, rare earths play a crucial role. Rare earth elements can be used to manufacture semiconductor materials. Elements like neodymium and samarium enhance semiconductor performance. For instance, during semiconductor doping processes, rare earth elements can precisely alter electrical properties, thereby boosting chip processing speed and computational capabilities. Rare earth compounds can also be used in photoresist for chip manufacturing to enhance lithography resolution and precision. This facilitates the production of smaller and more powerful chips. China is a major rare earth resource holder, ranking among the world's top in both reserves and production. However, rare earth resource development faces challenges such as environmental pollution. Moreover, given their strategic value in high-tech and other critical sectors, rational development and strategic reserves are of utmost importance. Due to their unique functions and uneven global distribution, rare earths have become a critical mineral in the competition among major powers. Resource Chapter Part 1. Baotou Iron and Steel Group. Baotou Iron and Steel Group is one of the earliest steel industry bases. Established after the founding of New China in 1959, the entire nation supported Baotou Steel's construction. 55 cities from 22 provinces, autonomous regions, and municipalities, along with 727 units, participated in the support effort, providing equipment, materials, cadres, and skilled workers. With nationwide backing, Baogang's construction advanced rapidly, continuously expanding and strengthening. It bears witness to the grand sweep of China's industrial development history. As a heavy industrial hub in northeast China, it holds profound historical significance in the new era for the entire nation. During the most frenzied 3D infrastructure and real estate development in New China, Baogang Group swiftly established its foothold. Today, one of its subsidiaries, Baogang Steel Co., Ltd., possesses an annual production capacity of 17.5 million tons of iron, steel, and supporting materials. Its overall equipment level has reached world-class standards. Chapter 2. Baiyun Ebo Mining Area. When discussing Baogang Group, one cannot overlook the Baiyun Ebo Mining Area. The Baiyun Ebo Mining Area boasts a history even longer than Baogang Group itself. This industrial gem rose through the ages. Its origins traceable to the third year of the Tianqi reign in the Qing dynasty, 1664, when it was a prime pasture under the jurisdiction of Maming Anji. Vast grasslands stretched endlessly, herds of cattle and horses grazed freely. Mongolian herders boiled water and cooked grass here, living a simple nomadic life. Time flowed on to 1914 during the Republic of China era. Baiyun Ebo became part of the Yulin Cabli under the Suyuan Special Administrative Region. Maming Anji 1927 geologist Ding Dao hangs groundbreaking discovery shown like a ray of dawn. Upon this land, he first uncovered exposed iron ore deposits on Baiyun Ebo's main peak, marking the beginning of this treasure trove's development. Later, Professor He Zuolin named it the Baiyun Mine, while the Ebo designation added an air of mystique to its value. Yet in 1937, Japanese forces encircled and occupied the region, subjecting it to immense suffering. It wasn't until the victory of the War of Resistance in 1945 that it returned to the embrace of the motherland. After the founding of New China, Baiyun Ebo entered a golden age of rapid development. 1950, the Geological Survey team conducted large-scale geological surveys of Baiyun Ebo, laying a solid foundation for subsequent development. In 1953, the construction of a large-scale steel enterprise utilizing local mineral resource was designated a key project under the National Mandatory Plan. In 1955, the Yulinkab League established an administrative office in Baiyun Ebo. In 1958, Baiyun Ebo town was incorporated into Baotou City and officially renamed the Baotou City Baiyun Ebo Mining District. From then on, an industrial city centered on mining rapidly emerged, becoming a shining gem in the industrial development of New China. 1905 for Baotou Iron and Steel Company, the predecessor of Baogang Group, was formally established. In its urban development and industrial layout, Baotou City prioritized securing raw material supplies for Baogang. 1958 Baiyun Ebo Town was incorporated into Baotou City. In August of the same year, it was renamed Baiyun Ebo Mining District. Thereafter, Mineral resource extraction in Baiyun Ebo mining district centered around Baogang's production needs, becoming a vital supplier of iron ore, rare earths, and other raw materials for Baogang. With subsequent deepening development, Baiyun Ebo mining district emerged as the world's largest rare earth mining area. Chapter 3: Shareholding Reform establishes Northern Rare Earth. In the 1960s, China vigorously developed its rare earth industry. In 1961, Batu Iron and Steel's 8,861 rare earth experimental site commenced construction. The project encompassed workshops for rare earth concentrate beneficiation, mixed rare earth oxide processing, and extraction, separation of metals and individual rare earth elements, along with supporting auxiliary facilities. This development laid a solid foundation for Northern Rare Earth's growth. By 1997, against the backdrop of equity restructuring, Batu Iron and Steel seized the opportunity, using its affiliated rare earth plant No. 3 and beneficiation plant, the rare earth concentration workshop to establish Inner Mongolia, Baogang Rare Earth High-Tech Co. Ltd. Through a public offering in accordance with Document No. 1997-1 issued by the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region People's Government, Nai Zhenggu Paizi, 1997 No. 1. In August of the same year, approved by the China Securities Regulatory Commission, the company successfully listed on the Shanghai Stock Exchange. On September 24th, formally entering the capital market and opening a new chapter in its development. As the enterprise expanded to better align with market demands and strategic development, the company formally changed its name in 2011 to China Northern Rare Earth Growth Tech Code Ltd. This renaming not only reflected its growth in scale and strength, but also demonstrated its resolvido build an international, high-tech rare earth industrial group. After years of development, Northern Rare Earth has become the world's largest supplier of rare earth products and the largest rare earth enterprise group, occupying a pivotal position in the industry. Chapter 4: The Rare Earth Battle. Part 1: From Rock Bottom Prices to 10,000 Rare Earths Sold Like Dirt. Beginning in 1990, due to China's backward rare earth processing technology and the absence of a domestic application market, high-tech industrial nations like the US, Japan, and South Korea formed alliances. They used financial means to suppress China's rare earth prices and purchased vast quantities of cheap rare earths from China for stockpiling. Massive rare earth smuggling and illegal mining led to China's rare earths being sold at dirt cheap prices for an extended period. 15 years of chaotic mining resulted in massive losses of state assets. Part 2: Zhu Guangshan, father of China's rare earth industry. You may wonder how China now dominates the rare earth sector. This achievement is inseparable from a giant in the field, Zhu Guangshan. How did he ascend step by step to become China's undisputed father of rare earths? Behind this lies a journey filled with hardship and brilliance. Time rewinds to the 1970s. At that time, China's rare earth industry faced immense challenges. Foreign countries tightly guarded rare earth separation technology, imposing extremely stringent technological blockades. China's rare earth industry was completely choked off. In this difficult moment, Zhu Guangshan resolutely stepped forward. Some might ask, what exactly makes rare earth separation technology so difficult? Why was it imperative to conquer this technology? In reality, rare earth elements share remarkably similar chemical properties like a group of identical twins, indistinguishable in appearance. Achieving their precise separation prests an unimaginable challenge. Without mastering this technology, China's rare earth industry would forever remain dependent on others, held hostage by foreign powers. Zhu Guangshan immersed himself in studying rare earth chemistry. He discovered that these seemingly identical twins exhibit minute differences during the extraction process. Building on this pivotal discovery, he proposed the groundbreaking cascade extraction theory. Yet this was merely the first step of a long journey. Soon after, doubts arose The theory was established, but how could it be transformed into practical, usable technology? Zhu Guangxin led his team into the laboratory, embarking on a relentless day and night struggle. The experimental conditions at the time were extremely rudimentary, yet they faced the challenges without fear, unflinching in the face of hardship. After countless failures, they persisted with unwavering determination, forging ahead relentlessly. Finally, they succeeded in designing a highly efficient cascade extraction process for rare earths. This achievement was like a bombshell, instantly reshaping the landscape of China's rare earth industry. Rare earth separation efficiency and purity saw significant improvements. Costs were markedly reduced, marking a qualitative leap in China's rare earth separation technology. Moreover, he imparted this technology without reservation to relevant enterprises and researchers. Through his vigorous advocacy, China's rare earth industry achieved rapid development. Its vast reserves finally gained countervailing leverage, opening a breach in the high-stakes competition over cutting-edge technologies like semiconductors and superconductors, a contest among the world's three major powers over strategic commodities. Subsequently, under the central government's comprehensive coordination, Chinese enterprises have continuously pursued overseas acquisitions, targeting critical industrial raw materials like iron ore, aluminum or rare earths, and petroleum, to gain controlling a series of FEPIC mineral finance campaigns. In 2011, with USGOVERNMENT backing the world's largest rare earth mini-mountain pass in the U.S., one shutdown was Rio Tinto attempting to break dependence on Chinese rare earth sand, enhance domestic supply capacity. In 2016, China's Sheng Resources acquired a 10% stake in Greenland Mining, becoming its largest single shareholder. In 2015, U.S. Jasmine Mining declared bankruptcy. By 2017, Chinese enterprises had taken over the operational rights of the Mountain Pass mine, among other moves. After 3 generations of effort, China's 30-year strategic chess game in rare earths has finally gained momentum for a comeback. The global rare earth landscape has largely taken shape. For China, the era of volume-driven competition has passed, optimizing processing technologies spurring the industrial chain, gaining pricing power through financial means. These are the future directions of rare earth strategy. In today's world, commodity wars are intensifying, played out through successive rounds of financial warfare. The resulting sharp price fluctuations can turn some into cannon fodder in battles among giants, while allowing others with keen instincts to rise with the tide. 5 classic battles in chemicals. After financial speculation fueled growth narratives and low price hype, the final phase saw commodities driven by the gold bull market. By late March 2025, gold prices hit consecutive highs, igniting a feverish speculation cycle across commodities. Performance fluctuations under this influence coincide with the peak of this wave, the first battle in chemicals, the Vanguard Zhang campaign. On the battlefield, vanguards are appointed by generals, but in the capital markets, leaders are often crowned by capital itself. Yet every true vanguard is born from the convergence of timing, geography, and human decisions, a delicate balance filled with randomness and uncertainty. Hello everyone, welcome to Document Review Notes. Today, we revisit a classic market battle, a confrontation that unfolded in April 2025, Beijing time, when thousands of stocks were collapsing in a wave of limit downs. Yet one short-term legend suddenly erupted. This was the Battle of Zhang. Zhang was founded on June 22, 1992, originally known as the China Textile Machinery Factory. After several restructurings and name changes, the company gradually shifted its focus toward fine chemical production. Today, it specializes in manufacturing and selling high-end chemical materials, including the agent tetrol and trimethylopropane product lines, both occupying a significant niche in the global polyol market. As China's second largest producer of agent tetrol, Zhang Yida maintains an annual production capacity of 43,000 tons. Its agent Tetrol product sold roughly 12% of the global market share and contribute more than half of the company's total revenue. In early March, the price of pure G54 surged dramatically. As one of the major producers of this key upstream material, Zhang Yida suddenly found itself at the center of a rare opportunity, a once-in-a-cycle commodity rotation. Sensing the momentum, major institutions including Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs began coordinating with aggressive market players, injecting waves of capital into the stock. March 11 to 12 market-making institutions pushed the stock into consecutive limit-up rallies, while quietly reducing portions of their holdings. March 13 expectations of further gains attracted a flood of large-scale quantitative funds. Meanwhile, the original institutional players having yet to secure meaningful profits chose not to release their core positions. But the newcomers were different. Quantitative traders, masters of high-frequency arbitrage, quickly realized that the short-term structure offered limited opportunity. Within just 2 trading days, many of them began withdrawing. March 18, the decisive confrontation arrived. Institutions, quantitative funds, and speculative hot money all entered the battlefield simultaneously. The Caiyuanqian branch append the stock directly at the limit-up price. This one-directional surge clearly disrupted the original institution's strategy. They responded by dumping shares, releasing a small portion of their positions into the market. After liquidity was absorbed, the notorious hot money desk from Ningbo Sanshan road-stepped in and firmly sealed the limit-up board. March 19, the old institutions, who had been quietly watching from the sidelines, finally began harvesting their profits. A wave of institutional and speculative capital was shaken out of the market. March 1, the confrontation intensified further. The rally entered a phase of collective frenzy. Any trace of subtle value discovery had vanished, replaced entirely by pure speculative momentum. Between March 24th and March 27th, the battle escalated without pause. Different factions of capital clashed relentlessly. During these 4 trading days alone, Zhang Yida achieved 4 consecutive limit-up surges. The entire chemical sector was suddenly ignited by speculative enthusiasm. After 14 trading days within a single month, the stock had recorded 10 separate gains. The price had tripled in a single breath. But every market legend eventually reaches its climax. The rally soon approached its natural conclusion. What followed was a prolonged phase of correction and consolidation, lasting until April 7, 2025. Then suddenly a breathtaking market-wide collapse arrived. A devastating 1,000-stop limit-down crash swept across the market, completely shattering the rhythm of the rally. Following April 7th, extreme panic ensued. Then a major market inflection point arrived, spawning the epic Red Beauty battle, the secondary tier Guofeng Group battle, and more. 2 to 3 dozen spectacular battles unfolded, igniting the market's speculative fervor. Capitalizing on its high market recognition from prior hype, Zhang Yida's veteran operators made a comeback, forcibly sustained by market sentiment. Amidst chaotic multi-party battles, it launched a major second wave with 9 consecutive gains. Its unique market position beyond being a former chemical leader elevated it to vanguard status on new fronts, continuously boosting market recognition. The battle shifted into high-stakes combat at elevated levels. Reviewing the entire speculative campaign, Zhang Yida was randomly selected by the market and forcibly elevated to the position of chemical industry leader. Ultimately, the fervor ignited purer, ultimate market battles. The Great Demon Hongbali campaign, the secondary Demon Guofeng Group campaign, and 20 other short-term battles of varying scale. Amidst overwhelming speculative fervor, Zhang Yida gradually faded from public view. Regarding pioneers under the iron law of speculation where the early birds feast, while the latecomers foot the bill, a pioneer's lifespan often hinges on the intensity of the overarching battle. Finally, some have challenged me with this remark: a 6-month bull market cycle? Have you ever traded stocks? Such remarks leave one both amused and exasperated. Then what duration do you deem a bull market cycle? Who stipulates bull markets must adhere to fixed timelines? Such individuals forever dwell in their own worlds, never respecting objective reality. Even when facts unfold before them, they selectively block them out, clinging to endless fantasies. From a practitioner's perspective, in markets where only structural bulls exist, volume expansion signifies a bull market. Approaching the inherently uncertain financial markets with mathematical axiom-like certainty will yield nothing even after a lifetime of exhaustive study. The climax of the second compelling red poly battle, a deep dive. Amidst April 2025's thousand-stock plunge reversal, a classic battle in the short-term explosion. As the saying goes, crisis and opportunity coexist. Hello everyone, welcome to Document Review Notes. Today we'll comprehensively dissect the entire process of the red poly battle chaos's great demon. Beijing time, April 7, 2025, 9:15 a.m. China's capital markets slowly open amidst the gloom of global indices sacrificed. During the Qingming festival holiday, the Shanghai Composite plummeted like a free-falling object, reaching the 3,100-point mark with a maximum intraday drop of 9%. The Shenzhen Component Index plunged 11%, while the Chinex Index crashed over 15%. A staggering 3,256 stocks hit the daily limit down threshold, the largest single-day decline since the 2020 circuit breaker mechanism. Amid massive sell-offs, daily trading volume dried up to 160 billion yuan. Most participants who refused to believe in bad luck saw their half-year profits go up in smoke. Beloved friends, you're surely familiar with this. Extreme markets breed extraordinary opportunities, a core tenet of Wen Shu's fleeting insights. In September 2023, under the gloom of a major bear market, the astonishing Zhengbang technology speculation cycle emerged, with the entire Huawei supply chain repeatedly hyped. Following the reversal of the 1,000-stock limit down crash early in 2024, a new productivity cycle emerged amid countless spectacular battles. The low-altitude economy surged ahead, dominating the scene. In September 2024, China's capital markets after the bull-bear war saw all factions mobilize collectively, ushering in a comprehensive awakening across the entire market. This wave of 1,000-stock limit-down crashes proved no exception. After tariff war fears subsided, the major trend battles led by institutions concluded. China's capital markets witnessed a spectacular short-term explosion. Countless thrilling battles unfolded within this cycle, driven by shared demand from both top and bottom. The turning point after extreme volatility became the exclusive domain of hot money. They selected a small-cap company amidst the chemical raw materials hype. Hongbali, founded in 1987 in Gaochun District, Nanjing, started from scratch. Its founder, burdened with a loss-making contracted enterprise, forged a path through adversity. It successfully listed on the A-share market in 2007 and has since become a chemical giant for major industrial bases. Polyurethane, isopropanolamine, new materials, and propylene oxide. After the bull-bear pivot in the September 2024 bull-bear battle, with massive capital influx into the market, dominated by major trend battles spearheaded by humanoid robots, short-term battles sprout like saplings in the forest, growing rapidly yet failing to capture attention. Financial sector speculation, growth-oriented speculation, low-price speculation, ultimately culminating in commodity speculation fueled by the gold bull market. Late March 2025, gold prices hit consecutive new highs. Speculation in major commodities reaches fever pitch. In the short-term battlefront, Zhang, the leading stock surging 300% in a month without looking back, has fully ignited raw material speculation sentiment. Hongbali, as a low-position catch-up play in the peripheral battle, gradually enters the public spotlight. Prior to this, the company had remained relatively active across the market, deeply favored by hot money possessing distinct recognition. April 1st, Lhasa Trading Department after Tianqi and quantitative strategies led the initial surge. The stock suffered 2 consecutive limit down days. At this critical moment, a new force suddenly stepped onto the stage, the speculative fund Jiangnan Shenyang. After massive turnover in Tianqi, market rules temporarily locked the day's positions. This unexpected restriction passively attracted waves of speculative capital and institutional followers. What followed was a dramatic spectacle. The stock staged a breathtaking floor-to-ceiling reversal, rising directly from near limit down to limit up. For retail investors, it was one of the most captivating rallies of the entire cycle. Almost overnight, its market recognition skyrocketed, and its popularity surged to the top of the trading rankings. April to the legendary Jiangnan Divine Eagle quietly waved its sleeves and exited the stage. In a single maneuver, it almost completely liquidated its position. But just as the market appeared to collapse, a miraculous moment unfolded in the final minutes of trading. As the price approached the limit down threshold, two former victors Tianqi and Beijing Zhongyuan returned to the battlefield. With 40 million yuan of ammunition, they launched a lightning counterattack. The stock instantly reversed from the brink of limit down. Hong Balians again survived the crisis. April 3rd, the eve of the Qingming Festival. After digesting the previous day's massive turnover, new forces began entering the battlefield. Shanghai ultra-short traders, the famous Zhongshan East Road hot money, and multiple speculative desks all joined the fight. As the closing bell rang, the price was firmly sealed at limit up. At that moment, Hongbali officially emerged as the short-term market leader, cementing its dominant position. After the Qingming Festival, what followed was nothing short of a bloodbath. A market-wide panic erupted. Thousands of stocks hit limit down. Even the once dominant Hongbali cooled, notwithstanding the overwhelming pressure. The speculative forces that had entered the day before filled the battlefield one after another. Only one player remained, Lhasa Sports King, tentatively probing the waters again and again. April 8th, the turning point then came the climax. The birth of a true monster stock always depends on three elements: timing, location, and human action. When the market reached its most extreme conditions, the veteran capital players masters at engineering turning points, and speculative legends could no longer stay silent. On the morning of April 8th, as the broader market began a powerful rebound, the restless forces moved instantly. The top brokerage branches of four major securities firms, Kaiyuan, Hualin, Huayuan, and Guosheng, joined forces with institutions. Together, they locked the stock at limit up, seizing the initiative and hyping what could become a next pivotal monster stock. Their foresight, their timing, and their decisiveness earned the admiration of the entire market. When the winds of change begin to blow, every kind of demon and monster emerges, each seeking its own battlefield. As the initial panic faded, the market rebounded for several consecutive days. By April 9th, the entire market had awakened. Speculative hot money ignited multiple sectors. Retail precious metals power utility core stark stern battles erupted everywhere. Defensive stance election campaigns, Chifeng offensives. Final showdowns. One after another, a truly spectacular battlefield. Amid this intense wave of market sentiment, the veteran leader Hongbali was repeatedly revived. Different forces entered and exited the battlefield in turns, creating a continuous cycle of healthy market turnover. On April 15th, as the tariff war intensified and countermeasure sentiment, speculation escalated from agriculture to domestic substitution sectors. Chips and semiconductors bore the brunt first. Hongbali's star product, monopropylene glycol, an essential cleaning material for lithography machines, ignited market sentiment once more. Along Jiangjiang Avenue and Haxingate Road, institutional funds poured in with 300 million yuan. The long-suffering stock, dormant for 4 trading days, soared to the daily limit again. On April 16th, propelled by the new flagship Lithium, the second wave of defense sector strength, propelled Hongbolito become the undisputed market leader. Institutions, hot money, and retail investors converged in recognition, forming a united front. The battle entered an open showdown phase. On this exposed battlefield, technique held no sway, only the boldest emerged victorious. This raw intensity defined the climax of the flagship battle. On the 16th, 17th, and 18th, veteran and new hot money players clashed in relentless turnover battles. In the blink of an eye, it achieved another 4 consecutive limit-ups at high levels. April 21st, having feasted to their heart's content, a portion of speculative funds chose to exit, driving the price down by 2 points below the waterline. However, propelled by the climax of the second wave of the defense sector and the simultaneous peak across all fronts, Hongbolito rallied once more. April 22nd, Lhasa Tianqi and 2 major institutions sealed another limit-up. Tides rise and fall. April 23rd, short-term sentiment collapses at opening bell. The battle for Hongbolito, the demon stock of turbulent times, enters its final chapter. Reflecting on this pivotal turning point in panic-driven warfare, the Yida battle provided the initial spark. The Hongbolito battle carried forward the momentum from the defense sector's peak. These 3 major campaigns interlocked seamlessly, sustaining market speculative fervor. Together they formed the core logic behind this short-term explosive rally. Structural framework. Among these, the Hongbolito battle served as a pivotal bridge spanning the entire conflict, gaining consensus among institutional, hot money, and retail investors, embodying the collective force of the battlefield, offering profound reference value, riding the tide, riding the fall. The ruthless financial market knows no right or wrong. Each major battle elevates some while eliminating others. The third battle, the peripheral red wall shares campaign Spring's beauty, cannot be contained. A branch of red apricot blossoms peeks over the wall. Beijing time, May 7, 2025. The turning point where thousands of stocks hit limit down. After panic subsided, 3 major renowned battles fully ignited short-term market sentiment. The entire battlefield blossomed in full bloom. Spring filled the garden. Hello everyone, welcome to the document review notes. Today we will deeply recreate the classic battle on the commodity and chemical raw materials front. The entire process of the Hongqiang shares battle. Founded in Hezhou in 2005, Hongqiang Co. Ltd. became China's first listed company specializing solely in concrete admixtures. Its product portfolio includes polycarboxylate and superplasticizers, widely used in construction with leading national market share. Strategically located in Hezhou, a pivotal city within the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Greater Bay Area, the company leverages significant regional advantages. In 2021, Hongqiang invested 660 million yuan in Hezhou's Daya Bay petrochemical zone to launch a 320,000 ton per year ethylene oxidant propylene oxide derivatives project, actively expanding into the fine chemicals sector. Following speculation in major financial sectors, growth-oriented sectors, and low-price stocks, the final wave was driven by the gold bull market, fueling commodity speculation. By late March 2025, gold prices hit consecutive record highs, escalating commodity speculation to fever pitch. Performance fluctuations under cyclical influence chemical products riding this wave's crest. Penterethritol prices surged relentlessly in early March. Zhengbang Company, a key producer of this primary material, breaking the deadlock in turbulent times. Zhengbang's vanguard battle, Hongbolito's major demon battle, Guofeng's demon-piercing battle. 3 decisive campaigns completely ignited market sentiment. On the commodities battlefield, Dreviously, an unremarkable follower in the chemical sector. On May 11th, Hongqiang Chemical announced that starting at 9 a.m. on May 12, 2025, hydroxyester products, including hydroxyethyl ester, hydroxypropyl ester, hydroxyethyl methacrylate, and hydroxypropyl methacrylate will see a price increase of 100 yuan per ton. Based on current sales prices stimulated by this raw material price hike news, Hong Kong's veteran investors seized the momentum. At this juncture, cause and effect sequence no longer matters. After veteran investors propelled it to new highs, large amounts of hot money poured in. Amid sustained speculation and speculation, its chemical raw materials gained traction as semiconductor photoresist ingredients. One of its core products, acrylic hydroxy ester. What is a key photoresist ingredient? For years, H2 was monopolized by international giants like Japan's Catalyst and Germany's Rome. Hongqiang Chemical, through its subsidiary Hongqiang Chemical, achieved stable mass production of high-purity H2 with purity 99%, filling a domestic gap and propelling the company into the high-end chemical sector. The narrative unfolded beautifully, centered on Hongqiang Chemical. Serendipitous events created resonance across multiple fronts, achieving an effect akin to Li Yanlong's assault on Ping'an County. The ensuing days of May 12th, 13th, and 14th ignited the war. The military-industrial superpower rivalry between China and the U.S., tariff easing, foreign exchange agreements, RMB appreciation, and other information cycles continuously stimulated short-term battlefield sentiment, prolonging its life. After the conclusion of the Hongboli battle on the chemical front, the Zhongyida battle and the Hongqiang battle advanced in tandem once more. Amidst the military sector's fiercely competitive market, the chemical sector fought for its place in the narrative. Finally, the most thrilling moment of the entire campaign arrived on May 14th. The exceptionally astute Lao Zhuang, well-versed in leveraging momentum, chose to exit swiftly at the peak of market euphoria when banks and brokerages were aggressively pushing, and the index had just broken through 3,400 points, exerting minimal effort. A decisive parting with a wave of the sleeve, retreating from the torrent at its peak without a trace of hesitation. Without enduring countless trials and tribulations, Zone could never grasp its essence. The fourth campaign, Monkey playing with the pearl in the Three Gorges battle. Who is the most legendary listed company in China's share market in May 2025? Who is the undisputed king of luck in this round of concept speculation? Hello everyone, welcome to Document Review Notes. Today we delve deep into recreating the entire campaign of the Heavenly Prodigy, the king of coincidences, in the Battle of Three Gorges. The most spectacular moment of the entire campaign unfolded, fully embodying the conflict between human nature and the market. The J1OC dominating the skies, such a narrative-driven anomaly carries more destructive force than Wolf Warrior. It's precisely what retail investors like Lhasa Bank crave most. At 9:15 a.m. Beijing time on April 7, 2025, China's capital markets, during the Qingming Festival holiday, slowly commenced amid the gloom of global stock indices. The Shanghai Composite Index plunged like a free-falling object, breaching the 3,100-point mark. Over 3,256 stocks across the market hit the daily limit down, marking the largest single-day decline since the 2020 circuit breaker mechanism. Following extreme panic, China's share market witnessed a spectacular short-term surge. The chemical sector, boosted by cyclical price hikes, soared ahead. Amid the three fiercely contested battles, Zhongyida, Hongbali, and Hongqiang shares, Yushengxia Company, specializing in paints and coatings, rode the wave of chemical raw material price increases. On April 25th, amid heightened speculation in the chemical sector, driven by aggressive buying, Yushin Chemical hit its first limit up. At this stage, Yushin was merely one of many followers, largely overlooked by market participants. After the weekend following Phase 1, the three chemical giants Weihai, Gaoxin, and Weihai began signaling their intentions. The entire market urgently sought a low-price catch-up play on the same front. April 28th, after a full day of turnover in Yushengxia, Forward-thinking capital suddenly moved at the magical 2:30 p.m. A near-vertical surge from floor to ceiling directly extended the chemical sector's life. April 29th, Zhengbang Road's classic ministerial tactics resurfaced, directly hitting the limit board at opening auction, maximizing profits from yesterday's holdings. The swift maneuver attracted a flood of hot money. April 30th, Zhengbang Road exited after hitting the third consecutive limit board. New forces took over, waiting for the market to resume. The market entered a 5-day Labor Day holiday. May 6th, the first trading day after the holiday, the market showed exceptional strength. Numerous speculative funds seized the opportunity. Indeed, the understanding of skilled players is remarkably consistent. Zhengbang Road coordinated with Chen Xiaokun and the Wenzhou faction for a counterattack. Returning to dominate, they cashed out at the new high, exiting through turnover. The convergence of speculative capital propelled Yuxiang into the role of short-term sentiment, leader in the chemical sector front lines. The fervor persisted until May 8th, when well-profited traders began exiting en masse. Why is the Yuxiang campaign hailed as the heavenly champion and king of fortune? Now we enter phase 2 of the campaign. At the pivotal moment when the chemical sector peaked and declined, another front quietly emerged. On May 7, 2025, Beijing time, India and Pakistan formally declared war. China's J-1OC fighter gained instant fame. Pakistan's J-1OC aircraft performed exceptionally well, shooting down multiple Indian warplanes, including Rafale fighters, demonstrating its formidable combat capabilities. After 2 days of fermentation amidst the hype driven by 2 major listed companies, in the Tianqi Group defense sector surged powerfully. The tenfold restructuring phenomenon of Tianqi directly ignited the market. At this moment, the resilient three gorgosized the opportunity to piggyback on the defense coatings concept. Some quietly began accumulating shares to build a second wave. The most spectacular scene of the entire campaign unfolded, fully illustrating the clash between human nature and the market. The narrative of the J-1OC dominating the skies proved more potent than Wolf Warrior, precisely the kind of story retail investors like the Lhasa Bank crave most. The defining trait of a MOBIS, its ability to amplify frenzy and panic. On May 9th, Yusanxia surged past its peak under Lhasa Bank's relentless push. Speculative capital seized the moment to exit, triggering a late session crash that left extreme anxiety over the weekend. May 12th, undoubtedly, Lhasa Bank amplified the panic. After the opening auction, it plunged straight to the floor. Lhasa Bank stocks hit limit down, leaving investors scrambling to cut losses. An ironic scene unfolded, yet it was the most logical counterplay. After Lhasa Bank's exit, institutions and hot money flooded in to reshape the market, propelling Three Gorges to a dramatic rebound. The fleeing mob never questioned the narrative's credibility, only blaming their own lack of foresight. Some even rushed back at the closing bell. Did you think that was the end? But it wasn't enough. After the May 12th close, the joint statement from the Sino-US Geneva trade talks was released, easing tariff tensions. This news ignited speculation in the shipping sector. Yushin began its third phase. Performancia's second round crafted a spectacular narrative. Yushin Chemical, having just finished coating planes and cannons in phase 1, now transformed into a marine coatings specialist. As the shipping sector surged, Yushin Chemical, bolstered by its dual-track narrative in chemicals and defense, drew another wave of retail investors flooding in, forcibly prolonging its life. The irony, at its peak frenzy, institutions and hot money were frantically fleeing. When falsehoods pass as truth, even truth becomes false. May 15th, other fronts crumbled. Three Gorges sentiment, highly influenced, transformed into the strongest front. Retail investors, scared by deception, fled en masse. Institutions and hot money coordinator plying them. With another batch of believers, frenzy continued. In this spectacular battle, countless self-proclaimed smart players were repeatedly trampled. Those who guess the outcome correctly but fail to anticipate the process were ruthlessly eliminated. Some will never grasp that humility and reverence are the only attitudes befitting financial markets. The fifth campaign, Battle of the Ruined Temple, War of the Wandering Father. True glory lies in the ability to rise from ruins, a monument to resilience. True emotional regulation is the ultimate destination. The Zhengbang campaign, the Hongbali campaign, the Three Gorges campaign, and others. The chemicals front is the most dazzling front in this commodity cycle besides gold. It has witnessed countless spectacular battles. Hello everyone, welcome to the document review notes. Today we present the full account of Yufu's battle. How St. Leveraged industry cycles still rise from the ashes. Soros once said, the history of world finance is a soap opera built on illusions and lies. To amass wealth, one must recognize these illusions, invest within them, then exit before the public sees through them. Players are desperados who gamble on insider information and market manipulation, perennially skirting the edges of regulation. They stand worlds apart from retail investors who bet blindly on market fluctuations. May 2025, amid the explosive surge in commodity and chemical stocks. After the Four Musketeers' successive downfalls, the new darling of the Liu front, the Yufu battle gradually surfaced into the public eye. For short-term traders, the Wanderer's War is the new darling of chemicals. For those within the scheme, however, the plot has been long in the making. Merely a shift from shadow to light. February 8, 2018, Fuan was frozen due to its main bank accounts being seized. Tamia with audited net assets at year-end 2021 standing at minus 1.34 billion yuan. It was again labeled with a risk warning. In 2022, a restructuring plan was implemented. December 28th, bankruptcy reorganization plan declared completed. Actual control transferred to Shaanxi Provincial SASIC. May 2023, delisting risk warning and other risk warnings revoked. A soap opera built on illusion and lease reaches its halfway point. All stories stem from a long-planned turning point. Late September 2024, China's capital markets erupted in a fierce battle between bulls and bears, transforming the entire market ecosystem. Various factions stirred restlessly, each gathering chips within their spheres of influence, accumulating strength. Within half a year, successive battles erupted. The financial sector speculation worth growth sector speculation worth low-price stock. Speculation war, finally culminating in commodity speculation war fueled by the gold bull market. Even during the low-price stock battle, oilfield service manipulators had been quietly developing alongside the same front, already forming a certain level of influence. Yet amidst the fierce competition, the allure of external opportunities proved too tempting. Even a towering tree in the forest remains unnoticed by many outsiders. It wasn't until mid-May, when the chemical sector was in full swing, that a major event unfolded. All related forces converged, forming a united front. Amid the commodity cycle, St. campaign players had become part of the chemical forces, regaining momentum. Under the high-profile triple wave surge of oilfield service giants, the oilfield battle transformed from a broken temple warrior to a chemical industry darling. Faced with this new emotional product, speculative capital and retail investors flashed bright red. May 15th, at the peak, a host of trading masters flooded in. Institutional players and old masters fled en masse. After the masters' despairing exit, market-making capital returned with vengeance. Repeated friction ensued. After February to 3, old masters abandoned ship outright. The Yufu battle was utterly overwhelmed by the loyalty war, led by chemical capital taking over. Within the chemical camp, fresh emotional blood was re-injected. The narrative ascends another tier, transforming into a true temple-shattering war god. The soap opera built on illusion and lies reaches its climax. The commodities saga continues. Market history remains unwritten. The Battle of the Wanderers, like the Tianqi war born under the carbon neutrality macro cycle, or the year-long war in the previous commodities cycle, with the old master's support rising from the scrap heap riding the tailwind all the way. Various logics resonate in unison within the same macro cycle, forming a chaotic multi-party battle, often the most captivating tales in capital markets. Huge spatial gaps transcend every constraint. Whether players or spectators all are drawn by immense temptation. Such battles become classic speculators in markets shaped by 30 years of history that emerge repeatedly through shifting rules enduring timelessly. History is history. The meaning of studying history lies in discerning autumn from a single leaf. We must perceive the next spring through the cycle of the four seasons. Market drifters are often blindly arrogant, driven by adrenaline fueled by emotion. Adrenaline driving their hands and feet, only to repeatedly scrape against the same pit, losing wealth and youth. Enduring battles born from economic cycles reveal only the grand scheme that survives long-term cycles. Observers can never grasp its full scope. After the golden bull market, countless spectacular battles erupted along the commodities front, tides rising and falling. The chemical industry's saga continues. After the golden bull market, countless spectacular battles erupted along the commodities front, tides rising and falling. The chemical industry's saga continues. The fourth battle, ancient metals. The turbulent intrigue behind the golden bull market. Gold prices hit new historic highs. Wedding gold jewelry evolves from traditional bracelets and chains to investment gold bars and traditional craftsmanship preserving consumption. Young people even invest in gold beans monthly as an inflation hedge. Over the past 3 years, the two most dazzling global financial products have been gold and Bitcoin, one ancient and weighty, the other young and novel. Flanking each other, their followers represent conservative and radical camps respectively. Hello everyone, welcome to Document Review Notes. Today we delve into the intricate dynamics behind gold's bull market. As the world's most resilient currency, gold has served as the core value carrier since the dawn of human civilization. Within Chinese civilization, gold never attained the deified status it held in Western or American cultures. Yet it became profoundly embedded in the construction of power structures. During the Shang and Zhou dynasties, bronze dominated ritual systems, with gold serving only as an embellishing accessory. By the Qin and Han dynasties, emperors cast gold into paper-thin sheets and horse hooves. Gold was neither currency in circulation or a religious symbol, but rather an absolute declaration of imperial monopoly over precious metals. When Emperor Wu of Han rewarded soldiers against the Xiongnu with gold, it was essentially converting military loyalty into material garments. Since the Tang and Song dynasties, gold gained new significance as Buddhism spread eastward. The gilding technique on the Lushan Great Buddha at Longmen Grottos, and the gold crowns and silver wrappings in the Famine Temple underground palace, used gold as a medium for manifesting Buddha nature, yet remained strictly controlled by imperial decree. Ming and Qing emperors further transformed gold into chains of power. The gold bricks paving the Forbidden City were actually square tiles soaked in tung oil, while genuine gold was cast into 100 jin-weighting-piece vats within palace walls, warning against the kingdom's extravagance. This philosophy of gold, stripped of monetary value, reflected the Chinese imperial obsession with absolute domination. Gold must be a tamed artifact, net an equivalent challenging authority. When Marco Polo marveled that the Yuan capital's gold was its palaces, he glimpsed the deeper political logic. The gold of the Chinese Empire was never free currency, but chains bound to Confucian rituals and imperial machinations. Yet in the third decade of the 21st century, this ancient metal is undergoing unprecedented value transformation. In 2024, international gold prices surpassed $2,500 per ounce, a nearly 800% increase since 2000. This supercycle, spanning over 2 decades, is neither solely driven by risk aversion or merely a byproduct of monetary overissuance. It represents a global contest of trust, power, and technological revolution efficient of the monetary system, credit collapse, and its dollarization wave. As the Federal Reserve's balance sheet ballooned from $0.9 trillion in 2008 to $8.9 trillion in 2023, the myth of the dollar as ultimate credit began to crumble. Data reveals dollar's share of global foreign exchange reserves has fallen from 72% in 2000 to 58% in 2023. Meanwhile, global central bank gold reserves have grown by 15% over the same period. In 2023, Russia increased the share of gold in its reserves to 25%. China, meanwhile, has expanded its gold holdings for 7 consecutive months. Together, these actions point toward one undeniable reality. Gold is once again becoming a strategic weapon in the global competition of national credit. But the deeper crisis lies elsewhere. It stems from the irreversible trend of debt monetization. Today, global debt has surpassed $307 trillion. In the United States, interest payments on Treasury debt already account for 25% of federal government revenue. When a debt cycle depends on currency depreciation to survive, gold's non-debt nature becomes uniquely valuable. It is one of the few assets that cannot be created, diluted, or manipulated by central banks. As Ray Dalio, founder of Bridgewater Associates, once observed, when fiat currency becomes the unit used to measure debt, gold becomes the natural counterparty to that debt. I doubt the technological revolution from ancient relic to future material. Traditionally, industrial demand accounted for only 8% of total gold consumption. But this ratio is now being reshaped by the next wave of technological transformation. Green energy, each gigawatt of hydrogen electrolyzers approximately 1.2 tons of gold. According to forecasts by the International Energy Agency, gold demand from this sector alone could reach 50 tons annually by 2030. Semiconductors gold remains critical for high-precision interconnects and wiring and advanced semiconductor fabrication. For 3-nanometer chips, gold usage increases by 40% compared with traditional processes. With TSMC expanding its production capacity, electronics-related gold demand could grow by 5% annually. Quantum computing in the emerging field of quantum technology. Gold nanoparticles play an irreplaceable role in qubit structures. This has already triggered hundreds of new patent filings worldwide. But the most important shift is not just demand itself. It is the inelastic nature of industrial gold demand. Unlike investment demand, high-end manufacturing is far less sensitive to price fluctuations. Even if gold prices were to double, companies like Apple would not suddenly reduce the gold platings on smartphone circuit boards. This price-insensitive demand creates a powerful valuation floor for gold. According to projections from Goldman Sachs, by 2030, industrial demand alone could push gold's cost support level to around $1,800 per ounce. Financial market paradigm shifts. The modern financial system is undergoing 3 fundamental transformations. The first began in 2020, when global negative yielding bonds reached a staggering $18 trillion. This development fundamentally reshaped the valuation logic of gold. When investors must pay interest to hold government bonds, an asset like gold which yields 0 interest suddenly becomes a positive return alternative. The Dutch central bank described this reality bluntly. Gold is a perpetual put option with the strike price being the credibility of fiat currency. Meanwhile, the infrastructure of modern financial markets is also amplifying gold's volatility. High-frequency trading algorithms can now react to geopolitical keywords in Federal Reserve statements within 0.03 seconds. At the same time, options positions in the SPDR Gold Trust had reached a record high in 2023. But perhaps the most interesting shift comes from a new generation of investors. Discussions on Reddit forums comparing gold versus Bitcoin have surged 300% year over year. This suggests that generation see the digital native investors of the internet age. are beginning to integrate gold into modern digital asset allocation frameworks. What was once seen as an ancient relic is quietly transforming into a strategic asset of the future. Some radicals even contend Bitcoin's superior portability and divisibility will supplant gold as the definitive asset of the digital era. This convergence of generational perspectives may catalyze structural expansion in gold demand. Fourth, geopolitical grayscale warfare. From reserve asset to strategic resource, gold's role transcends economics to become a bargaining chip in great power rivalry. In 2023, the US added gold to its critical minerals list. The EU passed the Raw Materials Act defining it as a strategic resource. China, through the Shanghai Gold Exchange, is advancing renminbi gold pricing authority. This trend of weaponizing resource holds deeper significance amid the chip war. The lithography machines required for 7 nanometers chip manufacturing rely on gold plating processes within core components that depend on specific supply chains. More covert battles unfold at the clearing system level. When Russia's gold was excluded from the SWIFT system, countries like Turkey and Iran accelerated the establishment of regional gold settlement mechanisms. Gold's physical properties, requiring no electronic bookkeeping, make it a decentralized clearing tool. This becomes particularly crucial as the digital Iron Curtain gradually descends. Global trade frictions are gradually eroding the achievement sprint by the global village and the world factory. The final spark has rendered foreign exchange reserves no longer the coveted asset they once were, but a hot potato. The human-driven tug-of-war at 5 ecological tipping points, according to the World Gold Council, with only 54,000 tons of surface gold reserves remaining. The supply-demand balance teeters on a dangerous precipice. On the supply side, global gold mine average grade has fallen from 3 grams per ton in 2000 to 1.5 grams per ton. Newly discovered deposits have plummeted by 70% over the past decade. On the demand side, India's wedding jewelry demand grows by 4% annually as its middle class expands, while China's gold deposit account surged 15-fold in just 2 years. This structural imbalance is intensified amid central banks' gold buying spree. In 2022, central banks acquired 28% of global mined gold. Should this ratio persist above 20%, civilian and industrial gold consumption will be forced into a phase of competing for existing reserves. The London Bullion Market Association has warned that risks of physical delivery deli shave reached their highest level since 2008. In the era of trade friction, gold's transformation from national shield to popular belief. The cracks in the global trade landscape here reshaping gold's value logic. The US-China tariff war, technological blockades, and supply chain decoupling have fueled deep anxiety among nations over dollar-denominated assets. Global central banks' net gold purchases reached 1,136 tons in 2023, setting a 55-year high. China increased its gold reserves for 7 consecutive months, reflecting defensive self-rescue against the traditional foreign exchange system. This national gold hoarding strategy rapidly trickled down to the public. As RMB exchange rate volatility intensified, ordinary citizens began viewing gold as household foreign exchange reserves. China's gold ETF holdings grew by 23% in 2023. Bank gold deposit account openings surged 180% year-on-year. More intriguingly, consumption patterns have shifted. Shenzhen's Shubai jewelry market has doubled its foot traffic compared to pre-pandemic levels. Gold has never been so divided yet unified. For nations, it serves as a strategic buffer against dollar hegemony. For individuals, it embodies tangible security in turbulent times. As trade friction escalates from economic warfare to systemic confrontation, gold is transcending national and individual boundaries, emerging as the most universal value common denominator. In an era of retreating globalization, synthesis of perspectives, gold's trinity, and civilizational choices When we extend our perspective to a century-long scale, gold surge essentially reflects humanity's three fundamental civilizational choices. First, a compromise with technological dependency. Even in our era, humanity has yet to discover a more universal vessel for value consensus than gold. Second, a defense against systemic flaws. From the Bretton Woods system to cryptocurrency experiments, all man-made systems ultimately revert to gold's ultimate validation. Third is reverence for uncertainty. Amid tail risks like nuclear war and climate catastrophe, gold stands as the sole Noah's Ark spanning civilizational cycles. Throughout economic history, each commodity cycle has defied public imagination due to differing economic conditions and competing forces in each era. Copper, silver, oil, aluminum, gold. Each round of market dynamics gives rise to distinct star performers. In this current gold bull market, traditionalists view it as the ultimate currency, warning against fiat currency abuse. Innovators deem it lacking in productive capacity, a relic of bygone faith. Pragmatists emphasize its tactical allocation value in portfolios and its industrial utility. Ultimately, gold's true significance may lie in its role as a mirror, reflecting humanity's eternal struggle with trust, power, and uncertainty. The prevailing global consensus for the next decade suggests gold may no longer be the best asset, but it will certainly remain the least bad option. Yet I maintain gold's value is inherent in its intrinsic properties, unshakable. This is undeniable. Yet in the cutthroat world of global finance, where the big fish eat the little fish, gold's price is no longer solely determined by its intrinsic value. In today's highly mature financial system, gold's price is not merely dictated by value, but by absolute power. The targets of exploitation can be as small as individuals or as large as nations. The Hunter brothers' silver manipulation scandal, which once shocked the world, remains vivid in memory. Similarly, focusing on the micro level, wedding gold jewelry has evolved from traditional bracelets and chains to investment-grade gold bars, combined with traditional craftsmanship for value preservation. Young people even subscribe monthly to gold coins as a hedge against inflation. When such values become deeply ingrained, it marks the historical inflection point where opportunity morphs into trap. Within controllable parameters, manipulators with ulterior motives can send gold prices soaring skyward or plunge them precipitously. When central bank gold reserves resonate with quantum labs' demand for gold-based materials, and governments worldwide alongside international speculative capital stretch their claws, the saga of this ancient metal may only be beginning. This unfolded in January 2026, the most painful financial market lesson. Silver, long pinned to the floor and unable to move, became the eye of this storm. The most naive and innocent group of major players in the nation's financial history are fast. Once more. Hello everyone. Welcome to the document review notes. The SDICUBS Silver Love Fund, officially named the SDICUBS Silver Futures Securities Investment Fund, had as its underlying asset silver futures contracts traded on the Shanghai Futures Exchange. As one of the few domestic products allowing direct investment in silver futures through public funds, it gained significant attention from late 2025 to early 2026 amid surging international silver prices. Lured by step-by-step tutorials on social media, masses of retail investors flooded in, viewing it as an epic money-making opportunity. Fund holders peaked at over 7 million. Yet when the avalanche hits, no snowflake is innocent. The SDICUBS Silver Love Fund collapsed soonfold against this backdrop. Unlike previous retail investor scams, this incident had far-reaching implications, exposing numerous systemic flaws by the market manipulators. Neither retail investors nor wealthy individuals escaped unscathed. By late January 2026, the global precious metals market experienced an epic crash. Spot gold plunged over 12%, breaking below the $4,700 threshold, marking its steepest decline since 1980. Spot silver nosedived 36% intraday, plunging from a high of $121 per ounce to $74, marking the largest single-day drop in nearly 40 years. While originating in international markets, the shockwaves were amplified and distorted in peculiar ways within the domestic market. China's futures market operates with a so-called safety valve, the daily price limit system. Taking the Shanghai Futures Exchange's silver futures contract as an example, its daily price fluctuation limit is set at plus or minus 17%. When international silver prices collapsed, this barrier temporarily held back the flood. Yet it also created a massive price gap between domestic and international markets. On February 2nd, the main domestic silver contract on the Shanghai Futures Exchange fell only 17%, far from reflecting the true international market price. It was precisely this enormous price disparity that pushed SDIC-UBS fund management to the brink. Had the settlement price of the SFE silver futures contract, the fund's net asset value would be significantly inflated relative to its underlying assets' true worth, creating an illusion of artificial value. This meanderly redeeming investors could exit at the inflated NAV, while the risk of subsequent asset prices reverting to their true value has entirely shifted onto investors who continued holding. After the close of trading on February 2nd, Sino-UBS Fund Management issued a market-shocking announcement. The announcements did to more accurately and fairly reflect the fund's asset value. The fund manager decided to adjust the valuation method for silver futures contracts held by its Silver Love Fund. The core change involved shifting from using the Shanghai Futures Exchange settlement precedent, referencing international silver price fluctuations. This single announcement acted like a depth charge, directly causing the fund's off-market net asset value to plummet 31.5% in a single day on February 2nd, setting a record for public funds. What further enraged participants was that this adjustment took effect retroactively on February 2nd. This meant investors who chose to redeem and cut losses during the day, based on the domestic price drop of up to 17%, only discovered after the market closed that night their actual losses had been compounded by an additional 14.5%. Investors' fury quickly ignited across social media platforms like Snowball and Xiaohongshu. Why use domestic prices when the market rise but switch to international prices during declines? Why not disclose this beforehand? They changed the rules only after we redeemed. In its February 3rd response, SDIC-UBS offered a seemingly compliant yet unconvincing justification. Advance notice risked being interpreted as intentional guidance against redemptions, potentially triggering panic over liquidity crises and sparking a run on fund assets. The backbone of this storm is the most naive and innocent army of retail investors in China's financial history. They are tireless and endless. This is also why a market decline that isn't particularly significant has generated far greater public impact than other events. Wedding gold jewelry since ancient times. The Chinese obsession with gold and silver has exponentially amplified the herd mentality. This mirrors the 2013 phenomenon of Chinese grandmothers swing up gold, like it was hanging from mountain peaks. Many stay-at-home moms were swept away by online platforms claiming soft gold and silver doubling in a bull market. Some didn't even understand what love meant, but seeing the staggering 119% gain over the past year, they blindly followed the trend, believing buying would guarantee easy profits. It's both laughable and lamentable. Beyond the vast retail investor base, long-term rental income on of the major internet finance landlords, finance, has also been affected by this incident. Unlike other platforms where fund redemptions require T+1 or even T+3 days for settlement, JD Finance adopts an express redemption model to enhance capital turnover efficiency for traders. Its express redemption promises that funds sold before 3 p.m. on business days will be settled on the same day, typically at 80% to 90% of the estimated net asset value. This practice relies on JD Finance fronting funds to enhance user experience. During stable markets, this arrangement benefits both parties. However, in extreme conditions like a 31.5% single-day NAV plunge, it transformed into a capital draining trap. According to investor records shared online, one user redeemed 854.60 fund shares via JD Finance's express redemption on February 2nd. The platform immediately advanced 2,224.83 yuan for immediate settlement. Yet when the fund's net value was confirmed that evening, the actual value of these shares was only 1,900.15 yuan. This meant the investor not only lost their entire principal, but also owed JD Finance 324.68 yuan in advance funding shortfall. Will JD Finance absorb this massive loss silently, or resort to coercive measures to recover the difference? Who ultimately bears the cost? This question remains a significant question mark. Some argue that if a crash triggers recovery of the shortfall, would a sharp rally also require repayment of the difference? The interplay of human nature and regulatory lesser faces amid the controversy. This incident, on the surface, stems from a precious metals crash and disputes over fund valuation adjustments. Yet its deeper roots point directly to the persistent disconnect between domestic financial market regulations and international markets. China's futures market price limit system was originally designed to prevent excessive volatility and protect investors. Yet in the globally interconnected precious metals market, when international prices undergo extreme fluctuations, this system instead acts as an insulating layer, preventing domestic prices from promptly and fully reflecting actual risks. Fund companies find themselves in a dilemma. Adhering to domestic valuation rules results in artificially inflated net asset values, unfair to holders. Switching to international valuation rules triggers massive net asset value shocks and fierce investor protests. SDIC-UBS opted for the latter approach. Yet its practice of conducting post-market surprise adjustments without intraday announcements severely undermined investors' rights to information and fair trading. The cost was devastating for over 17,000 complaining investors. It meant capital losses far exceeding expectations and psychological trauma before any apology. For JD Finance, its pursuit of an extreme user experience exposed critical gaps in risk management, leaving its digital business facing direct bad debt risks. For SDIC-UBS and the broader fund industry, credibility suffered severe damage. Moving forward, regulators will inevitably adopt greater caution in innovating and approving exchange-traded commodity products. Gold and silver swirl with hidden currents. The periodic table stirs the winds of change. Commodity speculation remains the most visible feature throughout economic cycles fermented by economic activity, shaped by political maneuvering, and ultimately propelled to climax by capital markets. After each round of resource redistribution, a transient equilibrium emerges, a perpetual cycle defining humanity's developmental rhythm. Welcome to Document Review Notes. We prioritize systematic insights over fast food content. 3 years of pandemic have shattered the fragile equilibrium of the global economic order. The world faces a once-in-a-century transformation, with undercurrents of geopolitical tension surging between nations. China's real estate industry chain suffered severe blows, sparking a revolution in new quality productive forces. The struggle for control over energy and industrial chains ignited the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The Federal Reserve's rate cuts utilize financial tools to harvest pricing power over commodities. Modern warfare is no longer confined to military conflict. It encompasses economic warfare, financial warfare, trade wars, and other non-traditional forms of combat. Commodities is the foundational raw materials for the entire industrial and agricultural system, form the bedrock of modern civilization. They influence countless downstream industries. The struggle for pricing dominance inevitably intertwines with capital markets. Among commodities, grain and energy, the two categories with the highest utility value, possess distinct low-cost advantages. Compared to precious metals and other strategic resources, energy in particular serves as the de facto collateral for the modern global financial system, exhibiting highly financialized characteristics. Unlike other civilized forms of competition, when these relatively civilized economic warfare tactics escalate beyond control and prove irreconcilable through negotiation, they inevitably devolve into hot conflict. The innocent bear no guilt, but the possessor of treasure is condemned. The Middle East, as the world's oil production hub, has become the region of most intense struggle. On February 28, 2026, the U.S. and Israel launched a joint airstrike targeting Iranian leadership. The Middle East spiraled into total chaos. Beginning March 1st, Iran mounted intensive retaliation string Israeli and U.S. military bases. Shipping in the Red Sea and Persian Gulf was disrupted, causing oil prices to surge violently. March 2nd, Russia urgently mediated, calling for de-escalation. Yet the conflict continued to expand multiple fronts. Palestine, Israel, Lebanon simultaneously heated up. Proxy forces fully intervened. Following the periodic table elements gold, silver, copper, iron, which took turns stirring the winds of change, the long dormant yet most authentic commodity, oil, began to take center stage in the geopolitical game. March 2nd, Brent crude surges 13% in a single day to $82 per barrel. WTI crude simultaneously jumps over 10%, breaking through $75 per barrel, hitting a new high in over a year. Middle East turmoil continues to escalate. Shipping through the Strait of Hormuz disrupted. Approximately 20% of global crude oil transport routes face interruption risks. Market panic spreads. Geopolitical risk premiums rapidly drive up oil prices. Capital knows no sentimentally profit matters, fueled by panic. China's domestic capital markets witnessed a historic scene. The big three oil companies hit consecutive daily trading limits. Commodity speculation, already surging this year, reached a climactic struggle. Global capital markets danced wildly amid uncertainty, with commodities bearing the brunt. Civilization gave way to savagery. Black swans, though, were reemerged within trends. Merely qualitative shifts triggered by quantitative accumulation. Beyond natural disasters, man-made disasters stem from unequal resource distribution and the resulting strategic struggles. Financial markets, as mirrors of real-world dynamics and subjected to shocks beyond internal control, give birth to danger and opportunity simultaneously, both amplified exponentially due to individual differences in vision and cognition. Some inevitably fall by the wayside while others rise to prominence. Throughout the long commodity cycle, each phase has its star products, driven successively by these star commodities. Countless spectacular battles erupted in capital markets, collectively forming a tumultuous cycle of commodity capital operations. Hello everyone, welcome to Document Review Notes. We adhere to systematic cognition, eschewing fast food content. Great power rivalry, rare earth competition, gold, silver, copper, iron, tin each take center stage. The periodic tables, the foundational menu of national-level capital forces, stirring the foundational menu of commodities. If oil is the lifeblood of industry, then tungsten is its teeth. This rare strategic metal, with its extreme hardness and melting point, plays an irreplaceable role in defense, aerospace, semiconductor, and cutting industries. Yet entering 2026, this industrial tooth suddenly bared its sharp fangs. The tailwind of the cycle directly ignited an epic surge in both futures and spot prices for tungsten. In August 2025, domestic apt futures traded at just 226,000 yuan per ton. By February 2026, they had soared past 1 million yuan per ton, a staggering 343% increase in 6 months. Black tungsten ore prices jump from 460 yuan 0 per ton at year's start to 870,000 yuan per ton by early March, marking an 89% annual gain. Prices for products like black powder and black iron doubled simultaneously. Spot markets faced severe shortages. Overseas premiums far exceeded domestic levels. European APT spot premiums reached $1,670 per ton. The once consistently loss-making black chicken overnight became a hot commodity, with skyrocketing performance. Such trends, like towering waves at sea, are precisely what active capital craves most. A company named Xianglu Property, as a core producer of black powder materials, leveraged its inherent small-cap purity to become a prime target for capital forces. Through a dizzying series of consecutive limit-up moves, it detonated a heavyweight bomb in the front lines of the commodity cycle. Starting near 10 yuan, it surged to nearly 50 yuan. Fast forward to December 24, 2025. On this day, Xianglu Property closed at 14.08 yuan. On that day, a private equity fund executed a competitive trade, dumping 1.501 for million shares in a single transaction and cashing out 21.0888 million yuan. This trade seemed insignificant at the time. Similar sell-offs were commonplace in the share market daily, but over the following month, the shareholders' trading tactics began to surface. This wasn't an emotional flight, it was a planned, phased exit, where every 1 yuan gain triggered another batch of sales. Market manipulation became glaringly obvious. Despite the stock's steep decline, the closing dragon and tiger list featured 5 institutions lined up consecutively. The acquired shares were entirely divided among the main consortium partners. Once the foundational deployment was complete, every subsequent price fluctuation became a tool for the consortium to exploit. With a large volume of shares locked up, even minor news-driven nudges schooled propelled the stock upward. After mid-January, turnover remained steady around 20%, moving forward unimpeded. Simultaneously, the wealth indices of participating forces grew exponentially. As the stock price climbed higher, they began contemplating how to distribute shares to retail investors. They targeted the Spring Festival, a major news event. Dramatic surges and crashes remain the most direct means to attract the unwary. The 5 trading days before the Spring Festival, 5 major institutions began aggressively pushing prices higher. During the Spring Festival period, news spread rapidly. The battle for tungsten concentrate technically captured the attention of a large number of eager retail investors. As expected, before the lingering warmth of the Spring Festival had faded, Urumqi was already abuzz. Data from China-Uzbekistan Online showed that by February 25th, tungsten concentrate prices had surged like a runaway horse, breaking through the 1,800 yuan per kilogram threshold, marking a staggering 469.6% increase since the start of last year. By February 28th, the rally showed no signs of slowing. Instead, it intensified dramatically. Urumqi iron ore surged past the 800,000 yuan per metric ton barrier, while Urumqi acetylene reached a historic peak of 1.2 million yuan per ton, a monthly cumulative gain of 30%, with nearly 80% growth year to date. This near vertical ascent was enough to make any technical analyst or trader's blood boil. In any low barrier market, much like live stream sales, once a hot topic emerges, even dog shit can sell, with favorable timing, location, and human factors aligning. Amid this massive trend, major institutions began steadily offloading positions at peak prices, flipping positions and manipulating the market. Capital departed with overflowing coffers, leaving gamblers to chase fantasies, staking their fortunes on fickle trends. Amidst this merry chaos, It became one of 2026's most spectacular and successful commodity battles. The Battle of Jianglu offers profound lessons beyond price swings. First, cycles are the eternal theme of capital markets. When commodity supply-demand dynamics reverse, they unleash movements far exceeding market expectations. Yet the peak of any cycle is invariably accompanied by frenzy and bubbles. Tides rise and fall, cycling endlessly. Those who judge values based on 3 days' fervor are ultimately stripped bare by the far-sighted. As the core asset among core assets, Petrochina has served as the market's anchor since its first limit upsurge before the 90-second bull-bear reversal. A trillion yuan is set from over 6 yuan to its current level near 13 yuan. The valuation of state assets has surged by over a trillion yuan, becoming the most compelling logic and significancy across the entire capital market. Each phase carries its distinct mission. Judgments of value inevitably shift with the times, aligning with the trendists. The sole survival strategy for players lacking leverage in the capital market. Of course, today's focus lies not in this spectacular trillion yuan battle, but rather in the stark contrast, the global asset crash. Multiple national stock markets triggered circuit breakers. Beyond the energy sector, everywhere else was a scene of devastation. Retail investors who repeatedly tried to catch the bottom paid the most painful lessons. The massive shockwaves in capital markets triggered by war sedimentary, not unprecedented. Viewed over extended time horizons, they are quite common. But for investors with a 3-day attention span, the only lesson they glean from history is that they never learn any lessons. Thus, the ultimate form of commodity warfare is war. As the core fuel driving industrial society's internal combustion engines, it stands as the commodity with the greatest practical value. Unlike gold's ornamental attributes, the struggle for energy dominance has always been the primary driver of international geopolitics. Spectators caught in gang fights suffer the consequences war knows no victors. Violent social upheavals only magnify the ingenuity of some and the ignorance of others 1,000-fold. The oil treasure incident during the pandemic remains vivid in memory. Cycles are the eternal theme of capital markets. When commodity supply-demand dynamics reverse, they spawn market movements far exceeding expectations. Yet the peak of every cycle is invariably accompanied by frenzy and bubbles. Tides rise and fall, cycles repeat. Those who judge values based on 3 days' fervor are ultimately plundered by those with foresight.